Hey guys, Smokey here. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to be going over the current beta build for Vengeance DH and then what some of the changes are versus pre-patch in 8.3. We'd greatly appreciate if you'd like, comment, and subscribe for some more Demon Hunter and WoW content. Huge disclaimer, this video did come out November 1st, so any of this information can change at any time and get nerfed or buffed. So first is, what do you unlock as you level? None of these are really crazy, but we'll just go a quick glance at them. So at level 52, you're going to get rank 3 Infernal Strike, just 25% more damage. 54, you get Fiery Brand rank 3, durations 2 seconds longer. To follow at level 54 is Soul Cleave, 56, Soul Cleave at rank 3 for 10% more damage, not more healing though. And Revel in Pain at 58, which is the same as Azerite trait, but a little weaker. Just because the Azerite trait, you can stack it, especially with like the Mythic Carapace and N'Zoth gear, you get some pretty high Revel in Pain damage and absorb, but normally that kind of stuff just indirectly gets nerfed when it gets built into the class, because like I said, you can't really stack it. Next is going to be the talents. So the talents are pretty similar to what you're going to be running on live and what you were running in 8.3. The big difference is going to be Quicken Sigils versus Sigils of Chains. I mean, this was like a staple for a really long time. This is like really nice to use. But you're really going to be using Quicken Sigils now just because it's going to reduce the cooldown of your Covenant ability, and they're also going to activate a little bit quicker if that really matters for you. Next is Agonizing Flames. I like this better just because you're going to be running an Immolation Aura like Conduit, which is going to make it a little bit stronger, but Abyssal Strike's still good. Last Resort, this is what I use. I mean, if you're going to be pushing keys, you really should be using Last Resort. Cheat Death is always nice, just in case anything goes wrong, or run out of defensives, or whatever. Ruinous Bulwark, that's okay. I mean, Fell Devastation, more healing and stuff. Maybe you can argue this in Raid, but I think maybe even a Cheat Death is still better in Raid. Bulk Extraction, this is alright. It doesn't really synergize well with the build we're going for, just because Spirit Bomb's going to be consuming, this would be consuming, and Soul Cleave's going to be consuming, so it's going to be hard to keep all those fragments up. It is a 1 minute, minute and a half cooldown, so maybe you can plan around it, but I still think Last Resort's your best bet here. So let's talk about the Covenant. Right now we're going carrying. I mean, most classes and specs are. It's just Bellicose' tree is really strong. Maybe we'll see that getting nerfed. Don't quote me on that, but you know, it's always a possibility. So yeah. Next is we'll talk about the Covenant ability first. So Allegiant Decree. It's just another sigil you're pretty much gonna get, but it does a lot of damage. And it's also not target capped, which is really nice. It's the same as Havoc, I believe. I think they all have the same abilities, but the damage this is going to do is really nice. It synergizes with Quicken Sigils. It's going to get that CDR. And then also, we're going to be running Repeat Decree, which is going to... Legion Decree echoes the second sigil 1 second later for 25% more damage. It's not a lot of damage, but it still helps. It doesn't generate more shards, but it's just the extra damage is always nice. Now let's go over the conduits now. So obviously you're going combat mediation. I mean, this is nice, just a nice little mastery buff. This was actually broken for a while in beta, where you were getting like 1,000 mastery just flat. It was insane. Growing Inferno, this is the Immolation Aura conduit I was talking about, but just increase your damage by 10%. This is going to scale up over time once you unlock better conduits from either Mythic Plus, Rating, or World Quest, you know, whichever area you get yours from, maybe even stuff from PvP. This doesn't really matter, but Shattered Restoration. So the healing of Shattered Souls is increased by 5%. It's a little lower now at that 145 item level, but it's going to scale pretty hard. And once it gets like that huge percentage increase, the scaling of it's really nice. You're going to start healing for a lot. And it's going to be similar to 8.3 and pre-patch now, where tanks are healing just as much as healers are, especially in the higher keys when they're taking more damage and all that good stuff. Already mentioned Repeat Decree, and then we have Vicious Ink. This is just your Demonic Ward passive, which is going to be up all the time. So it's just a nice little damage reduction buff for magic, at least magic damage. This scales pretty well as well. All these percent scalers are really, really nice, so these are good to build. And then obviously the versatility buff from Pelios. Next are going to be the legendaries. So there's like two really good ones, and like there's other ones that maybe you can argue, but we'll be going over the top two. So Soul Cleave reduces the main cooldown of a Ragnar Sigil by 8 seconds. That's the one I'm using right now. I think it's their best option. Um, you really should only be using Spirit Bomb to put the debuff on, and all the rest of your shards should be dumped into Soul Cleave so you can get more Legion Decrees out. You should be using Legion Decree on cooldown. It should never, you don't need to save it, right? You should just be using it when you can. Don't like pull super aggressive because you have it up, because it's not really a defensive, but um, it is really nice to have. The big damage, as you can see, we'll look at the damage profile here in a second. Spirit of the Darkest Flame, this is just a fiery brand buff. Maybe you would run this in Raid. I'm not really too sure. I think this one is still better for the Soul Cleave, but I don't know. You could argue it if you're going for like a Fire Root Banner build and like ran like Charred Flesh or something. Fall Flame Fortification, this is good, but like as you saw with the Conduit Vicious Ink, I mean that's already like what 6%, and it's gonna scale up to like the same amount here. Maybe if we get a second Lego later on, like we'd run this, but I'm not really too sure. I mean that's pretty far down the road. Fiery Soul. So each soul cleave fragment consumed by each soul fragment consumed by soul cleave reduces the cooldown of Fiery Brand by 2 seconds. Maybe you'll run these two together if we get that second Lego down the road, but again, like that's far away. Collective Anguish, I mean, this is, I mean, you don't really need more damage as a tank. You'd rather just run this, right? Because this can get more Legion Decrees, and that's what it's all about here. This is not that good. Felv Bombardment, I mean, this is just a throat glaive. I don't know anybody that's running this. I don't know any time you'd run this. Uh, this is like for both specs, so maybe if you went like the Glaive Tempest build, maybe we'll talk about that later, but this doesn't seem that good. Dark Lair Medallion, sorry. Felda 620% chance to not occur its cooldown. I was running this really early on, and I never saw it proc, but maybe I just got really unlucky. But again, I mean, like, 20% isn't huge. If you're really huge into your RNG types of builds, maybe you could argue this, but again, I mean, like this, you know what you're getting out of this. This is pretty risky. Darkest Tower, this is just darkness triggers when you below 35% health. I mean, as a Vengeance, I wouldn't really run this because like you're kind of spiky. Like you'll drop health pretty frequently, but you'll heal yourself up for a lot. So I don't know. I wouldn't run this. These two are your best bet. Really depends on what you're going for. Next is gonna be the stats. So still the same stats. Haste first. Just try to get the stats together here because more haste is gonna reduce your Demon Spike's cooldown. That's pretty big, obviously. I mean, Demon Spikes is like your main defensive. It's going to be up all the time. So the more haste, more Demon Spikes, pretty obvious. Versatility, I mean, that's just flat DR, damage increase, healing. So works really well with Vengeance Demon Hunters. So yeah. Rotation, pretty similar. The only difference now is that Soul Cleave consumes 2 soul fragments. And since you're running this legendary, it's gonna reduce the cooldown of Legion Decree. So like, pretty much what I do is if I have like 5 shards and I don't have Spirit Bomb up, I'm gonna pop Spirit Bomb. I'm gonna generate those shards. If my Legion Decree's on cooldowns, I'm gonna be dumping the shards into Soul Cleave, get this off cooldown. If it is not on cooldown, I'll drop it. If I don't have Spirit Bomb up, use those shards, put Spirit Bomb up, and then again, same thing, just dump Soul Cleave. Just like obviously as Demon Hunter, if you don't have any defensives up, I mean you're just kind of like a really bad Havoc Demon Hunter, really no damage mitigation and no damage at all. So you should just be kiting for defensives. It's kind of like a big gameplay with Vengeance is you're gonna be kiting a lot. That's why you got your 2 Infernal Strikes. You're gonna be kiting. You got high mobility, so it's not too bad. I always like running a Beastmaster Hunter. Resto Druids are awesome as well, just getting like the Binding Shot and Ursul's Vortex and Typhoon. I mean, at that point, you could literally get both stacks of your Demon Spikes back up. You're just going to kite for so far. But yeah, that's really nice. If you have beta right now, I think these trinkets have been nerfed recently, but they're still performing pretty well. So we got Blood Spattered Scale. This is like a better Psyche Shell, in my opinion, because you're doing damage, you're getting the huge Absorb Shield. Like this is a bigger Absorb Shield than Psyche Shell is, and it wasn't target cap, so that's why it was better. But now it is only up to 5, and the 2-minute cooldown. I think it was like a minute and a half before. But the damage this is doing is a lot, and the healing. I mean, this is a lot of healing that you're going to be getting at once, so I really like this. Feels good. Next is beating Abomination Core. So before, this was pretty overtuned. It'd be proccing like every single time you took damage. It doesn't proc as much now. It's nerfed. It's balanced much better. So I like where it's at now. But it still does like 10% of my healing, so it still feels pretty good. Especially as Demon Hunter taking a lot of damage. This is actually really good for Broodmasters as well with Stagger, but we'll get into that maybe some another time. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. I'll show you guys some Vengeance DH, like just like the damage of Repeat Decree is gonna do. We'll look at the damage profile first. So this is from a Necrotic Wake, like +3. I think we had like 2 chests of this, so we weren't in there for as long, so maybe like Fell Devastation would have done a little bit more, but whatever. Legion Decree, top damage, obviously. Like this is huge. Getting a lot of 25 casts from it, hit 86 times. It does a lot of damage. This is really nice. It's great. Repeat Decree, it just shows us Legion Decree in details right now, but it's number 8. It still does a lot of damage as well. Spirit Bomb, I mean, like, you're still using this a lot. Like I said, if you're not dumping souls for this, then you're using Spirit Bomb, so damage does is nice. And then Immolation Aura, I mean, this is, with the conduit, it does a lot of damage now, much more than it does on pre-patch in 8.3. It wasn't doing nearly this much damage. And then melee. And you can ignore Bloody Javelin here. That's just something you pick up in Necrotic Wake to do damage. You see Blood Barrier down here, only 6 cast. I mean, I probably could have cast more, but we were moving pretty quick. Wasn't really crazy needed. I use it more defensively than offensively, so. But yeah, get the healing done as well. So Consume Soul, number 1 by a long shot. Spirit Bomb, 10%. Blood Barrier, 10%. Beating Ambient Core looks like it's like 20%. I think this is the Absorb, and this is the Heal. So this is pretty nice, this combo. It's a lot of healing. Feldev, this is pretty good. The big thing about Feldev is you're getting meta. That's always really nice. So that's where most of your healing is going to be. And again, this is going to scale up as you get a better conduit with that Shattered Resolve. So just increasing shard generation. So let's take a look over here at the damage that your Legion Decree is going to do. So here, you just see this. Pretty big spike there, but this will drop here. We'll see what it looks like when it's done ticking. So yeah, it looks like it's doing about 7.4 for my overall, but I mean, 34.5k on just one button to press is pretty high with a 9.2 follow-up. Getting the shard, I think it's like 2. It was 3, I think I just picked one up, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the damage this is doing is really nice. And the fact that you can bring the cooldown back really quick with those Soul Cleaves. So, I mean, 2 of them, and that's 16 seconds off. It's already going to be up pretty soon. So, and some higher keys, you could probably pop this a couple times in a big pack. But the lower keys, it's hard to pop all the time just because it dies pretty quick. But yeah, that's everything. We'll probably do some gameplay later on, but just wanted to do a quick little guide for you. Please consider like, commenting, and subscribing for some future Demon Hunter and WoW guides and tips. That's all, so have a nice day, and thanks for tuning in.